Thish Gaming here with my intro to TBC tailoring. I'm sure you've heard that it's one of the strongest and most required professions for any caster DPS, but I wanted to go into a little bit more detail. So, overview. It offers some of the strongest early gear for multiple caster classes and has 3 specializations. These are Spellcloth, Shadowcloth, and Primal Mooncloth. You can transmute each cloth every 92 hours or 3 days and 20 hours. The requirement for transmuting is level 50. Specialization will require level 60 and 350 tailoring. Specialization will allow you to equip specific sets, and each transmute you do for your specialization will yield 2 cloth rather than 1. You can still do the transmutes for the other specializations, but you won't get double the yield. So first off, I wanted to cover Spell Strike, which is part of Spellcloth. However, it does not require a specialization to craft or wear. Almost all casters can wear Spell Strike. Whether you choose to do so will be determined mostly by the strength of your tier set and available gear options. If you're a class that needs to hit 2-piece, you may not be able to fit Spell Strike in. But however, it's still a very strong set. The total mats to craft the completed set you can see below. This is broken down to the most basic the mats can get. There are some intermediary steps, but you get the idea. The one I want to talk about also is Primal Nether, which will not be BOE on the beta. They will be BOP. So in order to get them, you will have to win the role from the final boss of a heroic dungeon in order to get them. Additionally, Spellcloth and Primal Mites both require transmutes. Overall, this is a very strong set, and the best info I have on the proc rate is 5% with no internal cooldown, meaning that it is especially good for multi-target classes, but still very solid all around. Next up we have Spellfire, and this requires Spellfire or Spellcloth tailoring. This provides fire and arcane damage, making it appealing to mages, boomkins, and firelocks. You can see the total mats to craft the complete set below. Additionally, this provides just a very solid 7% of your intellect as spell damage. These pieces give some of the highest raw spell damage for your specific schools, but generally lack other stats. So if you are a class that wants raw spell power, these are especially good. Next up we have Shadowcloth with the Frozen Shadowweave set, which requires Shadowcloth specialization to wear. It is primarily worn by Warlocks, Shadow Priests, and Frost Mages. I will go out and say that Shadow Priests especially really like this set. Shadow Priest doesn't scale with hit, crit very well, and because these sets lack hit and crit and have flat high shadow damage, it's especially good for them, but Warlocks will potentially wear a piece of this as well. You may not wear the full set as a Warlock. However, you can see below I have the total costs to craft the set here, and the set bonus is just, once again, a flat bonus. It may be better or worse depending on the class that you are running. And lastly, we have Primal Mooncloth, which requires the Primal Mooncloth specialization to equip. It is used by all healers. Every healer can make use of this set, especially healers that do not find themselves out of the 5-second window. So looking at shamans and paladins especially, they will get heavy use out of this set and its 5% mana regeneration. Now, there are other gear options that will have more base stats on them, but this is generally considered to be one of the better healing sets that you can pick up early on, especially if you need mana regen. Once again, on the left you can see the total mats to craft. And lastly, I wanted to just touch on some desirable standalone pieces. We have the Bracers of Havoc, Girdle of Ruination, and Vengeance Wrap. Many of these are best or close to best in slot. I have the cost to craft over on the left. As you might notice, Vengeance Wrap and Girdle of Ruination are both Shadowcloth, so this is potentially something that a Shadowcloth tailor can make more easily. They do require Primal nethers, but are bind on equip, so if you are able to get your hands on Shadowcloth and Primal nethers, these could potentially be very desirable items to sell. The Bracers of Havoc are very cheap to craft comparatively, only 72 Netherweave Cloth and 4 of each Primal, and are a very solid bracer option. If you don't have the PvP bracers or one of the more tenuous drops, these are a very solid option to go for early on. Otherwise, this is your tailoring summary. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I appreciate you watching these videos, and till next time, goodbye.